Despite these controversies, Echoes from a Sombre Empire remains a powerful and important documentary film that sheds light on a little-known chapter of African history.
Echoes from a Sombre Empire Documenter movie follow journalist Michael Goldsmith as he revisits the Central African Republic, the place of his imprisonment and torture, under the regime of the documentary's focus, Jean-Bédel Bokassa. Bokassa himself appears only in stock footage. Goldsmith was working as a French journalist when he was imprisoned after reporting on Bokassa's elaborate coronation. In the film, he says that he had written his report and used a telex machine to send it to his employer. There was a power failure during the transmission, causing the text to become jumbled. The message was intercepted by the government of the CAE, who decided that it was a coded message, and that Goldsmith was a South African spy. Goldsmith was taken to a prison, where he says that he was beaten personally by Bokassa, almost to death. Jean-Bédel Bokassa, longtime dictator and military leader of the Central African Republic, was born in Bobangui, Ubangui-Shari, French Equatorial Africa, present-day Central African Republic, on February 22, 1921. Bokassa's father, a village chief of the Mbaka people, was murdered in November 1927 for refusing to provide labor from his village as required under French colonial rule. A week later, his mother committed suicide and Bokassa, aged 6, became an orphan. Missionaries took in Bokassa and raised him until he joined the French colonial army in 1939. At the beginning of World War II, he then took part in the 1944 landings in Provence, France, and subsequently served with the French army in Indochina and Algeria. A skilled soldier, Bokassa rose to the rank of captain. He also won the Légion d'honneur, the highest French military decoration, and the Croix de Guerre, which was presented to soldiers who distinguished themselves in combat. After Ubangui-Shari became the independent Central African Republic in 1960, Bokassa helped to establish its army and was named colonel in 1964 by President David Dacko. Quickly rising to Army Chief of Staff, Bokassa seized power from President Dacko in 1965 in a coup d'état and ruled the country autocratically for the next 14 years. Bokassa's regime was supported by French military and economic aid. In 1972, Bokassa proclaimed himself president for life. His political opponents were executed and the national economy devastated to sustain his extravagant personal lifestyle. In 1976, Bokassa renamed the country the Central African Empire and proclaimed himself Emperor Bokassa I. Although most of the world condemned his proclamation, the coronation was backed by French President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. In 1979, Bokassa passed a regulation forcing high school students to purchase uniforms, only available from a factory owned by his wife. Due to the ensuing violent student demonstrations, Bokassa ordered many of the protesters imprisoned. Over 100 children were massacred while incarcerated. Bokassa called himself the Emperor of Central Africa. Others dubbed him the Butcher of Bangui. Jean-Bédel Bokassa seized power in a coup on December 31, 1965 and ruled what is now the Central African Republic, CAR, until he was ousted by French soldiers in 1979. In his early years in office, he was corrupt, brutal, and chummy with France. President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing often came to slaughter elephants in one of his wildlife reserves. With time, however, Bokassa's behavior grew even worse. He fed his enemies to lions and crocodiles. He ordered all schoolchildren to buy new uniforms made by his family firm, rounded up those who protested and massacred at least 100 of them, reportedly joining in the beatings himself. After the French lost patience and overthrew him, the dismembered remains of a maths teacher were found in his fridge. His successor accused him of cannibalism. He always denied it, though at a state banquet he once told a French diplomat, "You never noticed, but you ate human flesh." International organizations and foreign governments responded by condemning Bokassa for the murders, and international organizations cut off aid, while he had traveled to Libya to seek for other financial support. The French orchestrated another coup which returned David Dacko to power as the Central African Republic's president in September 1979. Bokassa, condemned to death in absentia, went in exile in Côte d'Ivoire and France. In 1986, Bokassa returned to the Central African Republic to be sentenced to death on the charge of murder. 7 years later, in 1993, President André Kalimba pardoned Bokassa and released him from prison. Bokassa died in 1996 in Bangui, capital of the Central African Republic. So that's Echoes from a Sombre Empire explained. I hope you like this video and please subscribe this channel. See you in another video. Bye.